Today I wanted to go over with you the DJI broadcast mode and audience view in the DJI goggle system, or transmission system, I guess we'll call it here. The biggest thing about this is having goggles that are compatible with each other. There's a large amount of goggles that are compatible, and then the new Goggles 3 are not compatible with anything but the Goggles 3. I usually fly using the Goggles 2 here, and the other day I had a buddy out at the flight park who wanted to watch me fly, and he had a set of Goggles V2, so we set those up so he could watch in audience view. They will also work with the DJI Goggles Integra here as well, so all of these different goggles are compatible. If you have the DJI Goggles 3 and put it into broadcast mode, it will not work with Goggles V2, the Goggles 2, or the Goggles Integra. And the other direction, if you are broadcasting in Goggles V2, you cannot receive it with Goggles 3. So the Goggle 3 is their own entity, whereas the older technology, so to speak, works just fine with each other. No matter which setup you're using, as far as if it's Goggles 3, Goggles V2, or Goggles 2, Goggles V2, or Goggles Integra, you're going to turn it on the same way. If you're using the Goggles V2, you'll use the side touch panel. The Goggles 2, you'll use the side panel here. In this Goggles Integra, which is the same way as the Goggles 3 is, what you're going to do is you're going to press the 5D button down on the top. Then you're going to negotiate down to transmission. And then what you're going to do is the pilot in command, the pick as we call it, they will be the pilot. So what you want to do is go to broadcast and turn that on. So once you've turned on the broadcast, you'll see that there's a description there of the transmitter itself. And that's going to vary depending on which mode you have the goggles in and which air unit you're hooked to or whatever. Now on the audience goggles, all you need to do is do the same thing. Press down on the button, negotiate down the transmission, then over to audience, and usually it pops up pretty quick. Sometimes you have to hit refresh, and you need to make sure that you stay in the proximity. You can't go a half mile away and have this work. It's a low power transmission. And speaking of that, when you put this into broadcast mode, it diminishes the output of the goggles because they're now receiving and transmitting. So I'm assuming it splits the transmitter receiver band or the antennas, but you lose about half of your bit rate, so your range drops considerably with the goggles. So you need to make sure that while you're flying around like this, I haven't had any problems, but I did have a problem one day where I forgot to turn it off. Even though you battery cycle your quad here or your goggles, it's going to stay on. And I was wondering why I was having vision problems, and it was because the output was greatly diminished because I still had the broadcast mode on. So make sure if you do use broadcast mode that you turn broadcast mode off when you're done using it before you power cycle your quad or your goggles. So hopefully this gives you a quick overview that the biggest issue is compatibility. Which goggles are compatible with which goggles? And like I said, the DJI Goggles 3 are only compatible with DJI Goggles 3, and I guess forward compatible because it's a different system. Hopefully you found this video helpful to your needs. If you would, I'd certainly appreciate it if you'd click that like button and subscribe for more video content like this. Thanks again, and I really do appreciate you all watching.